They'll head down the coast to play the Warriors at 8:30. Again, here on MMS. Your FM home for Cleveland Cavaliers basketball. Remember, if you're going to get any requisite gear at CLE Clothing Company, let me try that again. CLE Clothing Company, use the promo code HOOPS, not coincidentally, for 20% off. HOOPS, all through the month of January. Hey, Nick.
Hey, Alan.
Thank you for hanging on. Nick is our chief technology correspondent here on the show. And he checks in from time to time to apprise us of all kinds of amazing things going on. And what is it today?
Today it is the James Webb Telescope.
Science. I've seen a lot of articles about this. I've read just the bylines and what a big deal this is, like the sun shield opened up or something. But I really haven't dug in to figure out why this is a big deal and what it is.
All right. So first and foremost, the largest wavelength that the Hubble Telescope could see is the smallest wavelength this new successor telescope can see.
So this is it, because most of us have grown up only familiar with the Hubble Telescope. But you're saying this is a quantum leap forward, figuratively speaking.
Correct.
Yeah.
The biggest jump is its infrared sensors.
Okay.
That allows us to search for heat signatures across the universe and the galaxies, which we haven't been able to do up to this point. We've only been able to estimate that a star is this hot based on its glow, but now we'll actually be able to measure heat signatures deep into the cosmos.
Because this cost us $10 billion.
Correct.
Yeah. Was James Webb wasn't the guy that Tom Hanks played in Apollo 13, was he?
No, that was Jim Lovell.
No.
Oh, Jim Lovell. Okay. Somebody had to have played James Webb in a movie, right?
Not yet, but right after this.
All right.
The biggest part of it is that at full expansion, it's the size of a tennis court with the sun shields and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And up until the sun shield was deployed, it had 344 single points of failure, which meant if one didn't go through, the rest of it was over. And up until this point, knock on some wood, everything's gone without a single failure.
And big picture, how long is this supposed to be out there sending back images?
It'll long be there before any of us that are on this radio show right now will be alive.
Really? Out there that long?
Yes.
Wait, that could be ominous, though.
Yeah, that could be tomorrow. You might be knocking on wood more sooner than you think, Nick. Dan Lauria, Devotion to Accuracy. Dan Lauria, who is best known, of course, as the dad on The Wonder Years, played James Webb in the From the Earth to the Moon miniseries. There you go. Yeah. So he has been fictionalized in some things there before, but he's the namesake of this telescope. So it's going to be, because the Hubble Telescope's been out there a long, long time, right?
Yes, yeah. It's been out there since I don't have that in front of me.
Okay, so we can see objects up to 100 times fainter with the James Webb space. So, yeah, again, I saw that this was a big deal. I don't do as deep a dive into this astrophysics as I guess I should. But there it is.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I know it was a big deal when they launched it, and they said it was a flawless launch, and
the biggest takeaway is the infrared, which allows us to see heat deep across the cold universe now. We can actively measure heat, because usually where there's heat, there's life.
This isn't the thing that just got real close to the sun, is it?
Nope, that's a completely different device.
Yeah.
Idiot.
I am a big dummy. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm so sorry. I don't want to. Okay, so I mean, I can tell by your tone of voice, Nick, that you are just over the moon. If you'll indulge me, you seem very excited about it.
I'm willing to say, in our lifetime, this is our one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind moment.
Really? Okay.
Because of what it's going to allow us to see, things that we've never been able to see before, because you can't see infrared from a telescope on Earth. It's the infrared gets lost in our atmosphere, because that's what kind of filters out, like the sun's radiation, and infrared is heat. So Atmosphere does what the atmosphere does.
How do they differentiate between what's like a star and like how do they kind of focus in on those signatures? Because that seems pretty complicated. Because I imagine there's a lot of heat out there. How do you figure out which is like, you know, what's a star, what's a planet, what, you know, all the different kinds?
So it's going to couple together with a couple of other instruments and devices we currently have out that way. But the big thing that Alan mentioned is the sun shield. That's what's going to allow it to essentially cover all of the heat behind it, so it knows whatever it's looking at in front of it is only heat from that way, and then they have, obviously, calculations, mathematicals to figure out the exact pinpoint, like what you were asking, Bill, of what is where and where it's coming from.
That is cool. I mean, that's hot.
That is hot. Okay, well, listen.
Time,
thank you. I appreciate the update there.
Nerd alert!
There you go. That is Nick, who is very proudly our chief science correspondent here on the Alan Cox Show.
What was that miniseries on? Was that on HBO, From the Earth to the
I
Moon?
believe so. I think that Tom Hanks had something to do with that as well as a producer.
It was about the life and times of Jackie Gleason, correct?
Yes. It was Dan Lauria also played Jackie Gleason. Yes. And I believe that Paris Hilton played Audrey Meadows. In I never knew, by the way, TIL in the shorthand you kids love so much. I never knew that The Honeymooners was only on for a single season. As revered as that show is in the annals of television, Jackie Gleason and Art Carney, The Honeymooners, it was on for one season.
But wasn't it like a really long season?
I think so. They used to do like 24 episodes back then.
No, I mean like back then they did a lot.
Did they really?
Because they wouldn't do reruns, so it would be on every week. So I think it might have been like 50 episodes.
Oh, I see.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how many episodes there were, but it was on for one season.
39 episodes.
Really?
One season. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a lot. And
I've never like a whole show's run at this point.
Yeah, and I've never seen one episode of The Honeymooners, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, not one.
It's pretty funny.
I haven't either.
You know why, Mary?
Why?
Because I don't cotton to threatened domestic violence. That's why. It's also why I didn't watch From the Earth to the Moon. The Jackie Gleason.
Consistent.
The Ralph. Oh no, I'm wildly inconsistent. But on that,
well, I take it back then.
Thank you. All of this talk, still people offering their tributes to Betty White. I was reading about how Betty White, they're going to, they're still showing this 100th birthday film in theaters. I don't know if that's part of the retrospective they're doing over at the Cedar Lee. The Cedar Lee and the Chagrin Cinemas on her birthday on the 17th, they're doing a tribute to Betty White. They're going to show clips from her TV shows and remembrances from her co-hosts. The tribute will also include remarks from Betty White herself, which terrified a lot of people since she is dead. I assume they mean recorded prior to.
Nope, live clips.
But
Ghost
it's going to have. So they're going to screen it 3 times that day. You can get tickets online. You know what movie she was in that I forgot about that I love is Lake Placid. I was clicking
movie.
around and Lake Placid was on. I was like, why is nobody remembering Lake Placid?
I think that movie is like 82 minutes long. That's
it's
another
very
short movie.
Yes.
If you are a fan of the podcast, How Did This Get Made? Their episode, it's Jason.
Is that the Paul Scheer one?
Paul Scheer and Jason Matzoukis and his wife June. They do a Lake Placid episode that is very, very funny.
My wife has a huge crush on Jason Mantzoukas.
Me
She
too.
cannot get enough of that guy.
Me too.
But yeah, Betty White, of course, Betty White had the famous line in Lake Placid. It's a movie about a man-eating alligator in like Maine or something like that. And
New York, right? I thought it was upstate New York. Isn't that where Lake Placid is? It's a real place.
Lake Placid is, but they just called it Lake Placid. I don't think it was set at Lake Placid. Anyway, it reunited Bill Pullman and Bridget Fonda. They were both in Singles together, famously. They were both in that. Yeah, 99. It's an old movie. And Betty White is this woman that they find out has been feeding her cows to the alligator. And then they go out to interrogate her because they think she
It's
might
a
have something to do.
crocodile.
Sorry, crocodile. But those are African in nature. We get gators, they get crocs.
Well, this is a crocodile.
Okay.
Bernie was off fishing and had followed him home. So he threw it some scraps. Well, he didn't seem to bother anybody. He became kind of like a pet who lives in the wild.
Well, your husband Bernie, you didn't by any chance lead him to the lake blindfolded?
If I had a this is where I'd tell you to suck it.
The famous Betty White Lake Placid line.
That's a great line.
Yeah.
It grossed $56.9 million.
Yeah, but they spent a lot of money on that movie too, I think. More than you think that they would.
27 million.
Yeah. That's a lot of money for a movie like that.
Still made $30 million.
Yeah. No, that's great.
That's crazy.
They probably just broke even on that. But yeah, it's a good movie. It's a fun, concise, economical movie. But boy, you never saw, this is the amazing thing about Betty White too, as beloved as she was, and everybody thought she was cute and sweet, but just as a professional, you never saw, you never even saw like a bad reading from her or anything. You never saw a weird line, you never saw...
Did you know any of these existed? Lake Placid 2 in 2007.
Oh, they made like 6 of
Lake
them.
Placid 3 in 2010. Lake Placid The Final Chapter in 2012. Lake Placid vs. Anaconda in 2015. And then Lake Placid The Legacy in 2018.
Yes, they made a all direct-to-DVD, I'm sure.
That's crazy. I didn't know they made any of those.
Well, trouble is, though, then you had to get kind of your Betty White peers. Like, so they get Cloris Leachman to do Lake Placid. They'd get, somebody else to do, like John Schneider from the Dukes of Hazzard would be in one of them. And,
the DVD.
yeah, they made a bunch of them, though.
Lake Placid versus Anaconda. Crocs on the dock, snakes on the lake. So stupid.
When you can't think of what to call a sequel, you just call it Legacy. Mm-hmm. This is our legacy. Lake Placid 2. Unrated.
I wonder, they probably thought the final chapter were like, we're not going to make any more of these.
We gotta stop.
And they're like, well, 2 more.
Wasn't J-Lo in Anaconda?
Yes.
Yes,
Ice
he
Cube,
was.
John
Ice
Voight.
Cube, yeah.
John Voight doing this awful, like, Spanish accent or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember because J-Lo was walking through that water,
And you know what part
dragging
of that
that
movie?
butt behind her.
Of all the parts in that movie that were scary was one when they show the snake going through the water and it has the whole person's body in there and you see like the outline of his body. I'm like, oh, that could be me.
People love giant snake movies.
I was scared of Anaconda and then King Cobra. I was obsessed with King Cobras for like the longest time after that because I was like, they're little. I never understood their
the
whole
band?
No.
Oh.
The snake.
Is that why your DJ name was DJ Cobra?
No.
Because you're obsessed with the snake?
No, it's
No.
because he thinks he has a huge penis.
I do have a huge penis, but
See how I set him up and he just fell right into it.
434.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, the 4th Friday the 13th movie they called The Final Chapter because they go, we can't possibly do any more of these, right?
Freddy
What
vs.
more
Jason.
could we possibly? They made
I think
like 8 more of them.
I think Halloween had a final chapter, right?
Probably.
They all do.
I always get a final chapter.
Beethoven's
final.
final chapter?
No, you're thinking of Beethoven Legacy.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
with Betty White and Cloris Leachman.
Air Bud final chapter?
They just started, the sequels with him, they just started making him play other sports and still call it Air
I
Bud.
think he's an astronaut in one. I'm not even
Yeah,
kidding.
he's like High Lie
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
one, and who cares?
Playing High Life. That's ridiculous.
The one in 2000,
Stupid.
the one in 2005 where he played Texas Hold'em.
Yes.
And it was, the tagline was, "This one's for all the bones."
The flop. Look at his floppy ears. Alan, most of those Lake Placids were sci-fi originals. There you go.
Oh, they're like Sharknado.
Yeah.
They made like 3 or 4 of those. And what was the Piranha movie? Was it called Piranha?
It might have been
Yeah.
Piranha, yeah, with Jerry O'Connell gets his
Yeah.
dong ripped off or whatever. Yeah. And then the porn version, Lake Placid, I mean, nobody wanted to see that. You
That
want
was
to talk
just
about
a sad movie.
there was
It's
no
really
huge snake in
disappointing.
that.
But there are people that are into it. They like I like a nice flaccid one.
There's a market for
Waiting
everything.
for the climax and nothing.
Ah,
Just a denouement.
yeah. Alan, you should watch that Lucille Ball movie. Yeah, I don't really care about
With the
Nicole
Nicole
Kidman
Kidman?
playing Lucille Ball.
Saw that.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it, but I saw it on Amazon Prime. And I was like, I never followed I Love Lucy, so I feel like I'm sure it's probably well done, but it doesn't have
She's
the
very
nostalgia for
interesting,
me.
Yeah. It might be worth watching though, just because she's so iconic and so instrumental in all the television that came after that show.
Yeah.
Like they invented equipment for that show. She was.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, like the stuff that she did and the stuff that the crew did on that show is really interesting. I don't know how much they go into that, but even just her fighting to get Desi on the show, all that stuff, she was really ahead of her time when it came to just, that he was a Cuban guy, and they're like, we're not going to put a Cuban guy to star his TV show. And she's like, well, you're doing it or I'm leaving. And she got her way. So
Plus
Yeah,
eating all that
she was
chocolate.
calling all the shots.
yeah. Oh, she was a studio head.
Was she?
Eventually, yeah.
Desilu?
Yeah.
She was the first person to sell her foot pics. Back then, you had to put it under that big hood and then
Yeah,
poof.
and just
you know?
guess. You just hold your foot up in front of it and hope that it's in.
That's right. Yeah.
And have you ever?
I always thought Vivian Vance was kind of hot in a weird way when I used to watch I Love Lucy reruns.
I've never even. I don't know if I've
You've
ever
never seen
a
I Love
single
Lucy?
episode of that
When
show.
I was a kid,
so
they were
funny.
still running. When I was a kid, so you're talking like
1943.
No. I mean, like, when you're like a kid, but you're starting to kind of get your moxie and figure some things out. So I'm like late 70s, early 80s. They were still showing reruns from the 50s. So like WGN in Chicago, like every Sunday morning, they'd be running I Love Lucy and Beverly Hillbillies and the Cisco Kid and like these old shows. So I would watch all this I Love Lucy. I loved it.
Well,
It's all on Amazon Prime.
one of the, I think it might have just been I didn't have cable growing up, so it had just been local TV. Before I would go to school in the morning, they would play Green Acres.
Yep.
And
we didn't have
then-
cable either. This was
Yeah.
all on like Channel 9 in Chicago.
It was just Green Acres and the Munsters. And
Yeah.
I loved the Munsters. I would howl laughing at the Munsters at like age 11. I thought it was the funniest show ever.
Those are still on like Cozy TV or Me
yeah.
TV or whatever.
Yeah, I like throwing them on. And I mean, you want to talk about like densely written shows. Those shows are like joke.
Yep.
Those are good shows.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming I Love Lucy's probably in that same boat. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
And then there's also a lot of physical comedy in it. It's worth checking out.
Yeah.
Just to understand the history of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you got to watch every single episode, but look at like the one where they're working at the chocolate factory.
The iconic one.
Vitamina Vegemin is a good one.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Well, I went through a Cheers phase a couple of years ago too.
Cheers is
where,
great.
Where that was one where I was like, God, dude, this show is so funny. And Coach, by far my favorite character. Just like the writing for him was so, just like every bit is right there. You know what I mean? Like you saw it, you didn't see it coming from a mile away, but I was almost mad that I didn't see it coming.
I watched a lot of Frasier over the break. That Frasier's become like my comfort food show.
Yeah?
Frasier's a great show too.
Yeah.
I've been doing that with Seinfeld because it's on Netflix, and I forgot how much, because I haven't had regular TV in so long that I haven't watched Seinfeld in a long time. So now that it's on Netflix, I'm going through and I'm like, man, I forgot all these episodes and just these little weird character quirks. It's so good.
I didn't realize that Kelsey Grammer had been part of The Simpsons so early. Like Sideshow Bob shows up season 1.
Season 1, yeah.
Like pre-Frasier.
Yeah.
He was still on Cheers,
Cheers,
I
yeah.
think, when that was on.
He's Diane's fiance.
Yes.
What's that face?
Didn't you
Things
you
aren't
never
gonna
watched
work out.
Frasier? or-
No, I watched Frasier when it was on TV.
Yeah.
But like, so I
That's
was a
where they
little-
showed it.
But I was a little kid then, so I didn't go back and watch it as an adult. But I thought that was he still on Cheers after they split up?
I think so, yes.
Okay, that
Because
was
he
my
was always
question.
moping in the bar.
Yeah,
and
okay.
yeah, I think so. He would always because by then he had ingratiated himself into they kind of
Yeah.
made him like part of the group.
I haven't made it to the Kirstie Alley years yet.
She was so foxy back then.
Yeah.
She
That
was in
was
Star
when her-
Trek 2 and
Look who's talking.
yeah. Man, Kirstie Alley. I mean, she's a cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs now,
Yeah,
but I
but-
mean, still cute. All right, let me break here. You want to get a text? 35192. I'll have one of those trips to L.A. for you in about a half an hour, 5:10. Listen for that keyword to put you in L.A. next weekend for our Alter Ego Festival.
The Alan Cox Show on 100.7
WMMS